Hello, my name's Joanne and I help people with speaking. I've got a website called speakingmadesimple.website and yeah, ta-da! I'm Joanne. Today I'm going to be talking about the new workbook, Speaking Made Simple, and I haven't been doing much promoting of it. It's been a little bit crazy, it probably has been for you, but I really wanted to tell you a little bit about the workbook. I had written a guide before. I knew I'd want to look at something else around me. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Speaking Made Simple, the book. This is the guide. This is 30,000 words and it's got the psychology and the coaching and all the different modules in. This is the workbook. So this has all sort of spaces for Q&A and prompts. Okay? You don't need to buy this to understand this. I wrote this because I needed to write it. I needed to put into words for myself all of the ideas. So this is all of my ideas. And if you're wanting to teach or coach and you're interested in the psychology and you're interested in why this whole process works, then yes, this may be of interest to you. If, though, all you want to do is be a better speaker, then the workbook is what would be better for you. So the white one and the larger one is the workbook, and that's what I wanted to just give a quick mention of today. So Speaking Made Simple, I'm just going to open it up today. It says your 2021 goal setting, lesson planning, life-changing workbook. And in here, it's got a little bit of an introduction to what coaching is. And it's very brief, but it's just a way to support you and help you as you're learning. And it's the 4-step process, which is review where you are now, decide on your goal for the future, have your plan, do it, get some feedback, start again. Okay? So that's know where you are, name where you want to get to, you plan it, you plan where your 2 points, or I'm going to practice 20 minutes a day, or whatever your plan is. And then number 4 is you do, review, start again. So that's a very quick introduction to the coaching. So you are supported and guided. I'm also going to be doing more videos about this. Then part 5 of the book is what I call the speaking framework. And there's 4 pillars to this. There's 4, as I say, I think of it kind of as the legs to the table. It's the language, thinking, professional, creative. But don't worry about those terms. Each of them is divided into 8, and I think of those as building blocks. So in total we have 32, 8, 16, 24, 32. I know we have 32, I should remember that. In total we have 32 building blocks. And what's important for you to remember is every single one of those building blocks. Don't worry about, oh, that looks like a big book and different things like that. There's 32 different building blocks, and every single one of those would make you a better speaker. So if for example this month you could only look at one of them, that's fine. You'll still become a better speaker. And part of the way this works is something called deliberate practice. And deliberate practice is something I talk about in the workbook, but it's also something you can Google if you wanted to. It's not something that I created. And what it is making the most of the practice time that you have. Because most people I speak to, that's the big problem. And when I offer help, and certainly when I turn up on Facebook and say, how can I help you? Do you have any questions? They want to talk to me, but certainly the people who want to practice English as a second language, they don't know how to use the time best. And that is what I'm saying, this deliberate practice idea, that instead of saying, hi, how are you? Which is fun, and I like to get to know you, that's nice. But I also feel a little frustrated by that, because I want to help you more than that. I want you to become better speakers. And And I like knowing you better. I like it when I know your dreams and why you do things the way you do, and rather than just some of the surface facts like what your name is and the type of work you do. So I want those conversations with you. I want you to make the most of your practice time, and the workbook is my way of giving you 32 different ways to do it. So under each building block, you will find that we go through the coaching steps of where are you now, and I guide you as to how to talk about that. So, for example, I might say to you, give yourself a mark out of 10, or I might ask you to answer some questions. And that will give you an indication of, I'm talking about the whole subject of speaking, and you can say, oh, I know about half of those questions, so I probably know about 50%. Where's my goal? And then you can use those same questions again. It's like, I'd like to be up to knowing 6 of the questions. So as I say, always improving, lots of ways to become a better speaker. And then through those questions, you'll see that I move on to what kind of plan you would like. And there's loads of choices. And then I give you a particular lesson idea, a web page to go to, something to read, something to think about, some questions to, if you have a chance to practice, something that you could go through with that. These would be really great if you have a work lunch club, for example, if you're learning English. I think my people who have English as a first language that would like to be better speakers and are shy or feeling uncomfortable, you're in a slightly different situation that you may not be ready to speak in front of a group. So clearly you could have a teacher that goes through this with you, or you can go through this alone. I come to this topic because I struggled to speak up and I was painfully shy. So I have a lot of compassion and understanding if speaking to anyone feels like it's too much. And that is why some of the exercises are to stop and to think. And I give you some choices about, if you feel you can't yet speak up, or if you don't have a chance to speak to somebody where you feel safe in that situation, then these are other things that you could do to practice. Yes, without that teacher. Now, some of you will be thinking, she's made quite a few mistakes on this video. she's stuttered over words and she's done this and done that. I don't edit my videos. I understand that you watching this are comparing yourself to other speakers. The problem is that you, on YouTube and on the television and where you're seeing other speakers, there is a shiny, polished version of other speakers. And I don't think that helps you when it comes to comparison. So if you see me and I make a few mistakes and I forget to have everything ready and I have to go off and collect it, I think that's good for you. I think it's humbling for me, and it reminds me that I still have more to become even better at speaking, to become more prepared and different things like that. But I also think it's really good for you so that you know this is what people speak like. And then you also get a chance to see how I respond and recover from any of the mistakes that I make. So it may seem like I should be editing, or I should be making this more polished. I want you to know that it's a very deliberate decision, that I understand that you're comparing yourself to every other speaker out there, and maybe when you're watching me, you'll say, she's just like me. She makes mistakes too. So yes, but I am obsessed with speaking though. And I've got these 32 different building blocks. I'm just going to have a look through here. So let me look. I'm just opening up the book. So this says box 7, critical thinking, definition help, the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. So I've said that comes from the Oxford Languages. So step 1, past studies, current level. Explain in as much detail as possible your past studies on this topic and your current skill level. If unable to accurately assess your current knowledge, please comment on how you feel about this topic area. So, for example, I haven't given you much teaching really about that. I've just mentioned that it's critical thinking. Yeah. Now, you may have heard the term critical thinking, but have you studied it? Are you aware of the Edward de Bono books, for example? Have you heard the term lateral thinking or critical thinking? So I'm not telling you much there. I'm asking what you've already studied about this as a thinking, speaking topic. Step 2, your future goal. Describe as clearly as possible your future goal within this topic area. Go into detail about what it sounds, feels like. If it helps, think of a role model you admire and talk about their skills. So once you're sitting down, you can see that you could do this on your own. Would it be nice to work through with a group of you? Yes, it'd be nice. Would it be great, and would the teacher add value? Yes. It'd be great if you had your own teacher, and I'm sure that they could add value. But you could sit down and look at this and stop and say to yourself, what do I know about the term critical thinking and about communicating that? Now, if I sit back a little bit about the book, what I haven't said and what I do say in the book at the beginning is I separate speaking into what you're saying and how you're saying it. Okay? What you're saying and how you're saying it. Now, clearly, this critical thinking is something that's going on in your head. Your thinking processes and then putting it into language and saying it. So that's the what side of it. So as part of this whole thinking section, you'll see that I'm talking about editing and censorship. So I'm saying this is how you're thinking, this is how you're choosing your words. If you would like to become a better speaker, you can learn techniques of critical thinking, for example, in this, and then use specific phrases that come up all the time in critical thinking. Let me have a look. Let me see what lesson I've given you. Lesson plan idea. There are many examples of critical thinking lessons on the internet, including the matchbox experiment or connecting the dots. These tend to focus on the solution being reached as opposed to it being explained. For this reason, I've chosen a subject that I feel passionate about. That's genealogy. Okay, genealogy is the study of family history. If you're strongly against this or the topic is difficult for you, please watch a detective type story and attempt to spot and articulate the clues. I've been working on my family tree for over 20 years now. I misunderstood the nature of the work as I thought that I would collect names until the information ran out when the project would be complete. Instead, it's a never-ending mystery of wondering why people moved, married, etc., developing theories and looking for evidence to back them up. For example, noticing that in old records the husband-to-be was a next-door neighbour, or realising that a baby was born only 3 months after a wedding, or finding a person who had disappeared by being aware of the history geography of that time. If you do decide to work on your family tree, take time to make connections and to think critically about what all of this information means, what their lives would have been like, and what events in history would have meant for them. Remember to practice putting it into words too. You see? So I'm saying in this about the what and the way you choose your words. And I'm being as deliberate as possible about how you use your practice time. Just think about this small area of speaking of how do you connect the dots? How do you talk about, or there's a gap here, or something feels missing, or there's a pattern here. Everybody seems to have moved in this way or that way. So that's that. And then step 4 from the coaching. Do and review. And I put date done, time spent, review. How was your experience doing this lesson? So you've got a chance to say how comfortable you felt, or how successful the results were, or even if you were just interested in the subject of critical thinking. Integrate. How has learning this benefited you as a speaker? what's most likely to happen for a lot of these is that you will have particular phrases that you think it's really useful to remember that phrase. It's really useful. This is how it was for me. This is you would remember a phrase and say, I could begin a sentence with that. Instead of saying to myself, what do I say, what do I say, what do I say? I know that I can begin a sentence by saying, I'm seeing a pattern here, something's being repeated. And if I could talk about that, suddenly that makes me, can you hear that makes you sound like a better speaker? I can see a pattern in this. It sounds like you're thinking about what you're saying. It sounds like you've got something of value to add to the conversation. So those are the kind of sentences that I think you'll probably remember. So it is that you will remember specific words, but I'm also the practice of just thinking and also being aware of what else is going on in there. If you can hear that, that's my phone going, but I shall ignore it. Anyway, next question. Share. Who would benefit from knowing this? So I'm encouraging you to reach out and tell other people that you know. Lots of people I work with feel like they don't know people at work, and they don't know people who are friends that are in the same situation as them. And instead of saying to them in a vague way, oh, do you want to get better at speaking? Or do you ever feel bad about your speaking? You could say, I've just done this exercise about critical thinking, or you could talk to them, in this case, about your family tree. Share an article about it. Share a thought about it and see what they say. That's a really safe way of reaching out to people to try and find people who are like-minded, like you. And then additional comments. And then, although this is the next point, I'm going to show you this page. So sometimes, which way am I going? That way. Sometimes I have cartoons. That's because I like communicating with cartoons too. So you can see now that this is the workbook. 32 of those different lessons. All of them you can work through on your own with. Yes, I would recommend working through with friends or with a lunchtime club or with a teacher specifically for giving you feedback. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has the time or the money or the resources or whatever to have the ideal situation. But you do have the ability to go through this on your own. And like I say, every single block would make you a better speaker. The final thing I'd like to say is that for each of these sections, it starts at 0 in terms of skill level, and it is infinite how deep you want to go. So for example, the block that I looked at for critical thinking, you may think to yourself, you've never looked at this before. So you may feel that you're at level 0, although I suspect most of you are not. But you could, as I said, this is infinite. You could spend the rest of your life learning about critical thinking and how to express those ideas. You literally could spend the rest of your life doing that. And you would just become better and better and better and better at your specialist subject of critical thinking and expressing yourself and your ideas. So this way, my goal was, number one, most of you, you're not at 0. A lot of you feel like you're at 0. You're not. As soon as you go into the topic, you're going to remember. You're going to remember that you've seen detective shows and they've used that phrase. You're going to start to remember and realise that you know more than you thought you do. And number 2 is, even if you accidentally set your goals and your sights too low, it doesn't matter. Once you learn a little bit more and you realise that you're capable of so much more, then you can just increase your goals. There's no starting again or starting to learn a new way about it. You just say, this is interesting. I'm curious about this. I'm doing rather well at this. I want to do some more. And you keep going. And every little bit, every bit you do makes you a better speaker. So please share the word. I want people to know that speaking is something that they can learn. I want people to know about deliberate practice. And I'd love them to know about the workbook. The website is Speaking Made Simple. simple.website. I haven't been promoting it much, but I will be doing more videos, I will be doing more support, I will be doing more questions and answers, and I would love to know how you're using it. I definitely encourage you doing lunchtime clubs and going through with it with all your colleagues. It's available on Amazon as a paper copy, which is what I'm holding up, or if you prefer, you can go to speakingmadesimple.website and buy a PDF copy and just print out the pages that you need for doing the exercises. So that would be available anywhere in the world, and yeah, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna take time. We're gonna have meatier, more interesting conversations where you're feeling that you're giving me a fair representation of who you are, and I feel like you're getting to know me. Because quite frankly, I haven't been enjoying Facebook lately and the other different websites, and I decided this year that it's up to me to make a change, and I need to be how I would like others to be for me, and that is share more of what my actual experience is, let you get to know me a lot more, and to communicate to you that I want to know you too. And please, no phone calls, by the way. This is my work. I can't give free private help to people. I'm asking people actually to help me spread the word, because this is too big a project for me to do on my own. But I do want to get to know you, and I love having the meatier conversations, and I love to know about what your ambitions and goals are. So please let me know that. Just understand that I have a lot of people responding to me right now. So 2021, we're going to make a difference, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.